Welcome to The Romantic Side of Suspense with Sarah Hemmerker. In each episode, she'll talk with your favorite romantic suspense authors. They will take you behind the scenes of the writing process, giving excerpts from their writing, and share stories about their writing life.
Secrets Beneath the Snow by Traci Summeril. To solve a murder, this canine must dig up buried secrets. Suspicious of his friend's fatal accident, ski patroller Graham McAllister is determined to unearth the truth when his friend's long-missing sister suddenly appears, with gunmen in pursuit. Now it's up to Graham and his canine, Emmy, to keep Layla Quinn safe as they survive the brutal mountain elements and outrun the criminals trying to silence them, because Layla has a secret that could expose a shocking link to her brother's death, and revealing it may come with a deadly price.
On this episode of The Romantic Side of Suspense, my guest is Traci Summeril. She's a Colorado girl who loves the outdoor mountain life, and she also enjoys writing about it. So welcome to my show, Traci.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned in some of the information you sent me ahead of our interview that you have kids and a puppy and a dog and a husband. And so where do you find time to write? That's a busy life.
It is a busy life. It's a little crazy around here. I'm also a music teacher, and so things get really hectic for us. I really, because it's just something that I really have in my heart to do, and I get up early. I get up before my kids and before my husband, before the dog, and I take about an hour to write. And then I go and I get all the kids up and around, and I have it scheduled. So I know that I write first thing in the morning, and then I also have certain times throughout my day that I have sectioned off, and I just can't miss those times. And that's what I use to write with.
And when do you need a pick-up, like a pick-me-up, when to keep writing? What's your go-to for that?
Oh, I call a friend. I have met the most wonderful people through my writing journey, and some of them are just become such dear friends to me. And I know I can always call them, and writing can be pretty isolating. And so when I can call another writing friend and I can just say, I'm stuck with this scene, or what am I doing here? She can kind of help talk me through it. And so I'm really grateful for my writing friends, because it's very wonderful to have them around.
It is. It definitely is. And when we can make those connections, it can definitely help us get over the hump, whether it's we're stuck or we're just not feeling it, or we feel, there can be a million reasons why we're not wanting to write. It's always good when we have close friends who are writers to kind of help get us on. And I think it's true for any part of life, right? As long as you have good friends to kind of help you through the tough patches, whatever those look like, that can be so great. This is a question that I get a lot, and my answer, I think, disappoints readers when they ask me. But, where do you get the inspiration for your plots? And I feel like when I get asked that question, Traci, and I answer it, I say, well, anywhere and everywhere. It's hard to say there's just one slice that I can go, yes, I get all mine from reading newspaper articles. Well, sometimes it's an article, sometimes it's something I see, over here or see. It could be a bit from a movie. It could be something my kids said, something I read in a book. There's just not one source. So let me hear your story and see if your inspiration for plots is a little bit more satisfying, because they always seem disappointed when I tell them.
As writers, we're always looking, and we always have our radars up, and all of a sudden we'll just hear a phrase, we'll just hear, a story from somebody, and it just kind of inspires us. And I know that I get a lot of my inspiration when I'm out and about with my kids, when we go camping, or, when I hear their stories about skiing, because I ski, but not much like they do. So I get a lot of inspiration from those stories and from just being in the outdoors a lot, and taking drives, out, and I love taking a drive, and just sometimes it just really helps me to see the scenery and to take it in, and there's something about it, I don't know, nature, that really helps inspire me.
Well, we're a camping family as well, and although I'll just be honest, we do have a camper. I am not sleeping in a tent, and if there's not flush toilets, I'm not going. All right, now that we have that out of the way.
I'm kind of in the same boat. And so it's kind of, my kids are a lot more adventurous than I am.
Yes, I'm not going backpacking up in the mountains. No, and sleeping in a tent. I'm not doing it. All right, I've reached a point in my life where I'm not, and it's fine. No, but we still like to get out into nature and to unplug and to just kind of, enjoy it and recalibrate. And it is just a wonderful opportunity. And I think part of it, and maybe I'll start saying this, because this might resonate more when people ask you an inspiration. I said partly it's the fact that I try not to be connected to a device all the time. Like if I'm waiting at the doctor's office, I don't always whip out my phone. Sometimes I just sit there.
Yeah. Sure.
And just letting your mind just kind of wander hither and yon kind of thing can really bring some of those plot ideas and to fruition, to mind, allow it to percolate, because they're not like, a neon flashing sign, plot idea, take me, they're usually, you have to think about them for a while, or they're gone, if you just think, oh, that'd be interesting, and then you don't do anything about it right then, that ain't coming back.
Right, yes. There's definitely something about just unplugging and just letting your mind create and giving it space to create without distractions is just, I look for those opportunities. So.
Yeah, and camping, it allows those, and it allows our kids to have times where you're unplugged and you're undid, because a lot of places we go, they may bring their cell phone, but it ain't going to be working.
Yes, that's sure. Yep, sure true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, let's go get, not really lost, but let's go get, have fun in the woods and come back. So, so how do you connect then with your characters? So we've talked about inspiration, and how do you connect with your characters when you're writing?
I think the best way I have found is I journal about them. I kind of get into their heads, and I just kind of start journaling about what I see them doing and who they are, and a lot of their past. Like I just kind of pretend they're telling me their backstory and what they've been through, and their hurts and their pains and their wounds, and if there's any lies that they believe, because we all have those lies that we want to believe, and trying to fight against those lies. And so I have found that if I just sit down in a journal, and then it's kind of like me telling a story, even though it's just to myself, and it's really fun to see how they just start to develop and how they become people.
Yes, that is so true. Yes, definitely. I used to not find pictures for them, but now I do, because I do find that helps me as well. And I usually don't jot down too much information about them, mostly because I'm lazy, and that seems to take a long time, and I'd rather spend time writing. I know, I'm such a lazy writer. But I'll build it, I'll add to it as I'm writing, so I won't, forget what color eyes they have and how does their hair look like and stuff like that. But I think it is good to, the more we know, the more richer we can write them. But we all have, it's interesting to hear how different people connect with their characters.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll do like music, music lists, food. Some people go really deep, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do that deep. I may have it in my brain, but I just don't want to get it on get it on paper.
Well, and
Yeah,
sometimes
so
as you write the story, they develop even more. And so, sometimes it's just writing the story helps you get to know them too.
Yeah, definitely. I always say that, my characters kind of talk to me, and they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yes, you might have thought this, but And then they'll do something, and then later I'm like, oh, that's why they did that. Huh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so, yeah, I'm a little strange, so. All right, well, let's move on to what did you want to be as a kid, and I like this question too, and did your dream come true? Are you who you wanted to be as a kid?
Yes, well, it's not ever as I imagined, that's for sure, as a kid. And, but I used to be in 3rd grade, and I'd be on the jungle gym writing stories, and I loved it so much. And I didn't know if in my heart, I don't know if I was like, I want to be a writer. It was just something I did. And it wasn't until college that I really felt God say, hey, those stories that you have, those are not meant to keep to yourself. And so I started exploring what it would mean to be a writer. And sometimes it's funny how God takes us, because even that was what was in my heart to do. He also led me to be a teacher. And I have found a real love for teaching my students and being in the classroom as well. And so it's funny how, at that time in college, how I thought it was going to look. It really didn't look like that in the long run. And but he still, is starting to bring it to fruition. And to have had that dream and now to have my book published is like, I just feel blessed and excited, and it's kind of, so it is my dream coming true. It's just kind of, the beginnings of it, and it's really exciting to watch.
Oh, yes. And I wrote a lot of stories when I was a little girl, and I always wanted to be a writer, and I am. So, that was my profession. Yeah. Before I wrote for magazines and stuff like that, before I wrote books. Right. But yeah, so I would say my dream came true, and yes, it was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. But still a lot more fun. A lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
All right. Well, we are out of time, Traci. I'd love to keep talking, but thank you so much for sharing about writing and your journey on my show today.
Thank you so much. I really had fun.
Now an excerpt from Secrets Beneath the Snow by Traci Summeril. Nothing was as cold as a tomb of snow, even if Graham McAllister's tomb was man-made on a well-maintained ski run on Silver Ridge Mountain, deep within the Colorado Rockies. Its rugged peaks beckoned world-class skiers to its diamond runs from all over the world. The powder coated the mountain in undisturbed white, hanging heavy on the evergreen's branches. There was nothing like tipping over a ridge, skis sinking into the powder. It was fresh, pure, just like a first kiss, unless it buried you beneath its force. Which was why Graham always took his job on the ski patrol seriously, and why he agreed to crawl into a hole he could barely move in. The freedom of the slopes called to Graham, even as he huddled in the hole he dug. Normally, he didn't mind training exercises. They prepared him and his avalanche-certified black lab, Emmy, to find those taken within a wave of snow. But normally he wasn't the one buried, waiting to be found. Yet today, not one person volunteered. So here he was, praying his fellow ski patrol hadn't forgotten him and punched out early to party on a Friday afternoon. Memories of digging out victims from an avalanche 2 years ago rampaged his mind, their bodies mangled from the brute force of snow. He slammed his eyes closed against the image. Where was his ski team? They should have been here by now. He zipped and unzipped the collar of his patrol coat, anything to keep from listening to the rhythm of his breath reverberating against the icy walls, accompanied by his pulse thumping in his ears. Why did his nightmares have to bombard him now? Nightmares that had increased since Ollie's death 3 weeks ago. No, not death. Murder. He zipped faster, but the teeth caught on his neck. A growl escaped his throat. He kicked his heel into the cavern's wall. Where was Emmy? He glanced at his watch. 20 minutes. 10 more, and in real-world circumstances, his chance of survival would be cut in half. Graham dropped his head back against the jagged wall of snow. The icy blue cave surrounding him had dulled to gray. Outside, the coming storm must be settling around the mountain, darkening the mid-afternoon sky. He was running out of time. He should have called in sick today. Or maybe not. Being in a hole was better than wallowing in his regrets at home with nothing to do. It only reminded him that never again would Ollie pound on his door after a heavy snow, ready to tackle the back slopes. Home only reminded him that he had lost a friend. Not just a friend, a brother. Come on, Emmy. His voice bounced off the frigid walls with a hollow echo. He trusted Emmy. She was good at her job as a Colorado Rapid Avalanche Deploy CRAD certified lab. It was his patrol team he didn't trust. Or maybe it was just his patrol director. Something about the guy triggered an inner alarm. How could he not want to investigate the circumstances surrounding Ollie's death? Ollie had been one of them. Emmy was unsettled too. She always stood rigid, on alert, as if sensing something was wrong on the ski patrol. Since Ollie had been Emmy's previous handler, her senses seemed to be on extra high alert now. Another minute ticked by on his watch. Another minute to keep searching Anaconda Gulch before the coming storm hit gone. It didn't matter that he had already scoured the area for hours over the last 3 weeks. Ollie's phone had to be buried there somewhere beneath the snow, close to where he had supposedly fallen off into the gulch. According to the text Ollie had sent Graham immediately before he died, that phone contained pictures that would prove it was murder. He owed it to Ollie to find his killer. A muffled crunch of snow drifted down from the surface. Graham stiffened. He released a slow breath as claws scratched up above Graham's den. Black paws broke through the barrier, followed by a long, wet nose sniffing into the hole. Graham closed his eyes as Emmy's wet tongue slid across his cheek. The chuckle she always pulled out of him contrasted with his mood. Yep, it's me, Emmy. He reached up and scratched her ears. 22 minutes. You made me wait 22 minutes. With only half her body inside the hole, she shook her head, whipping one floppy black ear backward. Graham reached up and flipped it back over. What do you mean it's not your fault? Graham cupped her jaw in his hand. It's because you miss Ollie, isn't it? Emmy stopped panting, her brown, almost copper eyes meeting his. Missing Ollie. Something they had in common. Don't worry, girl. I'll find out what happened to him. I promise. As if in agreement, Emmy backed away from the hole to allow 2 patrol members to dig him out. Once his arm cleared the hole, Graham dangled Emmy's black rag, who grabbed it in her teeth and pulled. Applause sounded from the spectators watching beyond the orange boundary rope. A group of college-age guys with bright-colored coats and fur trapper hats let out a couple of obnoxious hoots. Probably the same characters he had chased back across the boundary earlier. Graham knelt, rewarding Emmy with a game of tug-of-war, but it lacked the same vigor as when she had played with Ollie. Emmy pulled the rag free, then sat politely while Graham rubbed behind her ears. When Ollie would do this, Emmy always hooked her front paw over his arm as if to hold him close and licked his hand, something she had not yet done with anyone else, including Graham. Jim Simmons skied over, wearing the same red patrol coat with the white cross Graham wore. He handed Graham his skis. Emmy did great, again. Graham straightened and took his skis. 22 minutes. She used to do it in 15. Well, she is 7 years old. Besides, some of that time was Zane waiting for your scent to drift up from the snow. Yeah, the guy probably would have waited until morning if not for the spectators watching the demonstration. Graham shot a look toward Zane, who was talking with another patroller, their eyes locked. The boss he could never please. Graham returned his attention to Jim. Emmy had faster times with Ollie. Man, you know Emmy is adjusting. It's only been 3 weeks. Give her a chance. Ollie may have been her handler, but she knows you almost as well. Shoot, she spent enough time with you. Graham snapped his boots into his bindings. That doesn't make me Ollie. Jim patted Graham on the shoulder. She'll adapt. Graham wasn't so sure. Emmy still whimpered by his door to go home at night. He looked down to call her over, but instead of sniffing around the snow or sitting ready for her next cue, she stood at the top of a snow berm, her body rigid, the fur on her neck raised. Graham skied toward her. What is it, girl? He followed Emmy's line of sight to someone in black snow gear. The skier blended in with the other spectators, yet stood out. The skier's hood shadowed his identity, along with a bulky scarf concealing the lower half of his face. Centered in his ski goggles' mirrored reflection stood Graham in his red patrol coat. The skier's gaze never wavered, even as a child next to him stumbled into his leg. Graham's skin itched. The crowd dispersed, but the guy didn't move. He stood motionless, keeping Graham framed in his ski goggles.
Thanks for listening to The Romantic Side of Suspense with Sarah Hammerker. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. You can sign up to receive notifications of upcoming podcasts and listen to previous editions at sarahhammerkerfiction.com.